Have you ever imagined finding out on your birthday that the man you love will marry with someone else? And this, before everyone? This is the story of a turnaround that no one expected. Get ready for secrets, betrayals, and a breathtaking outcome. Before we dive into this plot, subscribe to the channel and leave your like so as not to lose any details. Now, let's start. On Marina's birthday, her boyfriend, Ricardo, announced before everyone in the workplace that she would marry another woman. She did not cry or teased turmoil. He only followed him in silence, tormented by the eagerness of an explanation. However, what he discovered was much worse than she might have imagined. Before we start this narrative, remember to enjoy and subscribe to the channel to follow the next stories. Amid a corridor, Marina caught Ricardo talking to a friend. "Aren't you afraid that Marina gets annoyed by all this?" asked the boy, showing caution. Ricardo sighed, looking alien to the consequences. "What else can I do? If I don't marry Sofia, her family will force her to join a stranger. I couldn't stand to see her in this situation." The friend hesitated, but persisted. "And Marina? You have been together for years." "It doesn't matter," Ricardo countered, laughing lightly. In other times, that laugh would be able to calm Marina, but now it reached as a painful blow. "Marina has been by my side for 8 years. Everyone knows that. What choice does she have beyond keep waiting for me?" With each word, Marina felt a dagger being dug into her chest. 8 years. 8 years of affection, patience, and unrestricted support. This was how he saw her, someone with no alternative. Sometime later, Marina's family organized a meeting to introduce her to a suitor who, as they said, would be much more suitable for her. It was a man linked to the well-known Vasconcelos family. The day marked for this possible union coincided precisely with the marriage of Ricardo and Sofia. As the date of Ricardo's marriage was approaching, he was taken by a growing agitation and made it clear to the groomsmen, asking them to keep alert. "I have a feeling that something will go wrong. Be careful that Marina does not appear by surprise." One of the godparents, however, revealed to Ricardo an unexpected information. "Are you not knowing? Marina also marries today." On the other side, Marina at home had lunch with her mother and broke the silence. "That Vasconcelos family proposal is still standing?" His mother's hand trembled as he put on his cup of tea at the table. The concern stamped his face. "Why are you asking this, my daughter?" The truth is that hours earlier, a video of Ricardo asking Sofia in marriage had viralized on social networks, leaving all euphoric. After all, he was the heir to the influential Noguera family, and, until that moment, everyone assumed that Marina was the official girlfriend. Only it wasn't so. "Marina," her mother repeated, now in a firm tone. "Marriage is not a thrust of impulse. I don't want you to choose this way for a boost or to escape suffering." Marina swallowed hard, swinging her head in denial. "I'm no longer impulsive, mother. You did not soon refuse the invitation of Vasconcelos, which means you consider Eduardo a good alternative to me. I trust your trial." Her mother sighed deeply, putting her hands on the table. "Eduardo is indeed a righteous man. However, marriage is a bond for life. Don't you think you better know him first? Spend some time beside him?" "I prefer to abbreviate the process," Marina countered firmly. "Take care of everything, please. I trust your choice for preparations." After lunch, Marina returned to the apartment she had bought and came across Ricardo. He was sitting on the couch, entertained in his notebook. When she noticed her arrival, she closed the computer calmly, as if everything was normal. "Full day at work? You arrived late." She took off her shoes, trying to understand why he was there. "What are you doing here?" "I had a business dinner nearby." Ricardo shrugged. "I thought about seeing how you were." As soon as he approached, Marina noticed Sofia's perfume impregnated in Ricardo's clothes. His stomach rolled. She retreated instinctively, running away from his touch. Her eyes and nose burned, remembering the announcement he had made the day before, in her birthday. "What there was?" asked Ricardo, trying to maintain softness, as if there was nothing wrong with his actions. "Nothing," she answered coldly. "You've seen me. I'm alive and breathing. Now go." Ricardo's countenance changed for a second, but soon he forced a smile. "Last week you complained that I didn't spend time with you. And now that I'm here, do you send me away? Come on, Marina. Don't be like that." Marina remembered how she had waited throughout the day before a call, a message, any birthday mention. The sun was born and put itself with no sign of Ricardo. When she arrived at night, she almost surrendered and decided to look for him, but before that she received a video from an unknown number. Reluctantly, she opened it. That's when he saw Ricardo in the office, kneeling, proposing marriage to Sofia in front of several colleagues. Applause and laughter filled the recording. Marina couldn't believe it. He ran to confront him personally, but what he found was even more painful. Hidden by the corridor, he heard the conversation between Ricardo and a friend. "Marina has been mine for 8 years. Everyone knows that. She just has to wait for me." Those words shattered what was left of Marina's heart. For 8 years, she had been understanding, faithful, and dedicated. But for him, she was just an extension of her ego. Now, looking at Ricardo in the apartment, she felt her teary eyes, her tight chest. When the tears rolled, he fell, trying to wipe them down. "Who annoyed you? Tell me the name I solve." There was a genuine concern background there, but to Marina, it sounded like irony. In part, this referred to the past. Since childhood, Ricardo was the messy and mischievous boy, always getting confused in the street. She, on the contrary, had been created with overprotection due to fragile health. He constantly invited her to play, but she could only stay in the window, looking at him with the other children. Still, Ricardo left treats for her and lightly pinned her cheeks, promising, "One day you will join us." When Marina finally grew up and was allowed to leave the house, the two came closer and started dating. Ricardo's dedication made her believe that he would be her safe haven forever. Until Sofia appears, with her radiant presence and long conversations that made Ricardo dive into a universe in which Marina did not participate. At first, he even tried to include Marina, but the time came when he lost patience. "You don't understand. It will take care of your things." At that moment, the conversations between Ricardo and Sofia intensified, so that they seemed inseparable. Marina's friends warned her, but she insisted on believing in his loyalty. Now, however, everything was noise. That night, Ricardo wanted to stay in the apartment, claiming not to be able to leave her alone in those circumstances. He spoke softly, but each sentence sounded false. Marina retreated, saying in a low tone, "Do what is best for you." Then he ran to the bedroom and slammed the door, turning the key. "Marina," he called, his voice drowned out by the wood. "I'll be out here. When you want to talk, just call me, all right?" She did not answer, ignored the appeal as the tears fell. There was nothing left to say or hear. The next morning, she woke up with a numbness, still was destroyed by recent events. As he left the room, he came across Ricardo Hurry, wearing the jacket. "I need to solve something urgent. At night I come to pick you up to have dinner, right?" Before Marina could react, he disappeared, knocking on the door. It was left on the couch, his cell phone, forgotten in the hurry. The screen came on with a notification, and, as there was no password, the message could be read immediately. The content made Marina's hands shake and the heart trigger. "Don't leave tracks this time. If Marina suspects, we will have problems." She felt the blood boil. He wondered how long it was used. 8 years. 8 long years dedicated to someone who despised her. In his apartment, so full of memories, everything now seemed suffocating to him. Meanwhile, Marina's family was eager to define her possible union with Eduardo, a member of the distinct Vasconcelos family. At the dinner table, her mother carefully addressed the subject. "He asked you again." Marina no longer hesitated. "I accept." The mother's surprised look joined a glow of hope. "He is sure? It's time to move on. Eduardo can represent a new beginning." The mother understood that her daughter was determined, so he warned that the preparations would begin. Marina, in turn, began planning a way to end Ricardo's influence. Using data obtained on his mobile phone, he discovered partnerships and business agreements on which he was based to maintain his good image. Armed with information that could compromise the reputation of Ricardo, Marina triggered Eduardo, who was receptive and understanding. "I suspect there is something more behind your decision to accept this engagement so suddenly," Eduardo, curiously, commented in one of his meetings. She confirmed with her head, staring at him seriously. "Ricardo Nogueira. You know who it is, no?" "Of course. He is well known in many business circles," Eduardo replied, remaining impassive. "I want to see him ruined. I need someone to help me dismantle the web that it has built over the years." Eduardo hesitated for a second, so he smiled slightly. "I'm by your side." The following week brought a major event organized by Marina's family, in which her official commitment would be announced with Eduardo. The decoration was impeccable. The guests were a mixture of acquaintances of Vasconcelos with Marina's family connections. An invitation was delivered to Ricardo without clear signature, but with a list of names that he would not resist checking. When he arrived, his expression of astonishment was notorious. There was Marina, alongside Eduardo, surrounded by influential people, none of which are interested in extending red carpet to Ricardo. In other times, it would be the center of attention, but there was displaced, almost without function. "Marina," he approached, trying to keep his stance. "What's going on?" She lifted the glass of wine, indifferent. "My commitment to Eduardo. I thought it would be interesting to invite you to celebrate my new step." Ricardo contracted his jaw. He had to strive not to create a scandal. He circulated through the hall, trying to resume his position as before, but no one seemed willing to hear or help him. Finally, he left earlier, visibly disturbed. The morning after the event, Marina felt that she had given the first big blow to Ricardo's ego. However, it was not enough yet. She took advantage of the following days to contact entrepreneurs and investors who had agreements with him, did not attack him head-on. Instead, he planted doubts about Ricardo's real ability to fulfill what he promised. He gathered evidence of emails and conversations in which he bragged about real ballast agreements. The result was inevitable. One by one, the partners began to review contracts, undoing partnerships that supported Ricardo's business. In a short time, he realized that the firm floor on which he walked was becoming poundy sand. One day, Marina received from him a short and harsh message. "We need to talk. I can't pretend that nothing is happening. Call me." She reread the text several times but opted for silence. Letting him waiting this time was the best answer. The chance to end it all came when Ricardo organized a dinner to try to regain the confidence of some partners. He also sent invitations to Marina and Eduardo. She immediately accepted, willing to watch closely at the second act of this announced failure. The dinner was tense. There were fewer people than Ricardo expected, and the conversations were full of caution. Those who came no longer had the same confidence in him, and that made him apprehensive. Eduardo remained next to Marina, who observed every step of Ricardo coldly. At one point, Ricardo took courage and approached Marina. "Can you explain what you are doing?" he asked, trying to keep the composure. "I know it's you behind all this twist. Why are you attacking me like this?" Marina gave a half smile, getting up. "What did you do to deserve this? Think. 8 years of lies, betrayals, humiliations. Now it's time to face the consequences." He tried to argue, but she gave no room. He left, leaving him standing with the expression of those who had just taken a final blow. In the weeks they came, Ricardo's damage were surrounded. Investors departed one by one. Sofia, noticing his financial and emotional insecurity, also gave up keeping his marriage planned. Ricardo's reputation sank irreversibly. Marina, watching the collapse from afar, finally felt that she was freeing herself from the greatest weight of her life. One night, she received a short message from Eduardo. "We achieved. Everything is over." Marina smiled at her cell phone and turned off the screen. Anyway, breathed relieved. He had broken those chains, not as a victim, but as someone who recovered his power of choice. After a while, Ricardo knocked on the door of Marina's old apartment. He looked like a shadow of the man who had been. Empty look and deducted countenance. In an impulse of curiosity, she let him get in to speak. "Marina, I don't know what I did to deserve it. Everything is crumbling and I don't know how to stop." She stared at him in silence, remembering the countless times she was treated as a disposable object. When he decided to speak, the tone of his voice came out serene, but firm. "Actually, you know very well what you did. For years, he abused my confidence. For you, I was just a convenient piece. Now it is living the reflection of its choices." He lowered his head. "Overdue. I'm very sorry." "No, Ricardo. You feel as the weight of having lost everything. But it is not real remorse, but the fear of being alone. 8 years ago, I would have believed, but not anymore." She indicated the door. "Go. We have nothing more to talk about." Ricardo left, and Marina closed that door forever. From there, her life went on different directions. The commitment to Eduardo is no longer just an arrangement, and started to establish himself as something genuine. He was a righteous man who supported her without trying to control her. One afternoon, as they walked in a park, Eduardo stopped and asked, "Are you happy?" Marina reflected before answering, "I am, for the first time in a long time." He smiled, glad with confirmation. It was all I needed to know. As for Ricardo, Marina saw him again, months later, alone in a coffee shop. He seemed even more desolate, sitting in a corner without any trace of pride that he had defined him so much. There was no penalty or grudge on Marina, only the realization that that chapter was closed. As he went out to the street and inspiring the fresh air, she felt that the future was finally alone, without shadows, without ties, full of possibilities. And it was at this moment that she was sure to have won.